Welcome to day 22 of positioning ourselves for our best year yet and unlocking the keys to our success. And if you've been enjoying this journey thus far, all I ask is two things. One, go ahead and press subscribe. And two, share this video with someone else. And today we're going to be discussing, do you really trust God? God has the power to use you to change the world. God can change your situation in a minute. God can elevate you and open doors that no man can shut. God can turn your dreams into reality. God can take you just as you are and move mountains. God can do anything. But the question is, do you believe it? Do you believe that he can do it for you? So do you believe that God can use you to change your family? You can be the first in your family to do things that have never been done before. To use you to be the first millionaire in your family. To be the first to help put your entire family on. Do you believe that God can use you to help shape and change and impact communities? Do you believe that God can use you to start an organization that impacts thousands? Do you believe that God can use someone like you to help eradicate the racial wealth gap? Do you believe that God can use you in more ways than you can ever think and imagine? So, do you trust him? And so this year, as we talk about this being our best year yet, I have another question for you. My question is, what's the thing that you feel led to do and called to do that seems impossible? It seems too big, or you don't feel qualified enough, or you feel like it's impossible to achieve, but it's in your heart to do it. My question is, do you have enough faith this year to believe for it? And faith is not about you. Faith is about him. Faith is about believing God can do it. It's the evidence of things not yet seen, but it's the trust and the confidence that the things that I don't see yet, he will bring them to pass. He will make them happen. So again, do you have enough faith for that impossible situation that you may be currently in? Do you have enough faith and trust in God in the fact that he's bigger than all of your worries, your fears, your failures, your disappointments, and everything that's stopping you? He's bigger than that. But do you believe it? And he has the power and the ability to get you everything that you stand in need of, whether it's financially, whether it's spiritually, whether it's emotionally, physically, whatever it may be, he has the power to give it to you. So when we think about faith, faith is not about us having enough trust and belief in ourselves. Again, it's about, do we have enough faith and trust and belief in him and his word? So in this season, in this year, what is God prompting you to do? What are the big things, the things that you can't do on your own that you feel led to do? So I want us to look at the story of Moses. And it goes on to say in Exodus 3, it says, "Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people Israel out of Egypt." But Moses protested to God, "Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" God answered, "I will be with you, and this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain." So God is telling Moses that he's equipping him to lead and to be successful and to lead this nation out of Egypt. But Moses doesn't feel qualified enough. So, what is God prompting you to do that you don't feel qualified enough to do? And then it goes on to say, but Moses protested. If I go to the people of Israel and tell them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, they will ask me, what is his name? Then what should I tell him? God replied to Moses, I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel. I am has sent me to you. The elders of Israel will accept your message. Then you and the elders must go to the king of Egypt and tell him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. So please take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. But I know, this is what God's telling him, but I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand forces him. So I will raise my hand and strike the Egyptians, performing all kinds of miracles among them. So God may be telling us to go this year, but it doesn't mean that we won't hit roadblocks. But he's telling us that he's going to turn situations, roadblocks, obstacles for our favor, for our good. And for us to know that it's not just by us and our intelligence and our might. The bigger the roadblock, then the more glory God ultimately gets. It's him that's making it happen at the end of the day. We just have to be obedient and go. And then it concludes by saying, then at last he will let you go, speaking of the king, and I will cause the Egyptians to look favorably on you. They will give you gifts when you go, so you will not leave empty-handed. And the other story I want to share is the story of Joshua and marching around the walls of Jericho. Because sometimes God is prompting us to go somewhere and to do something this year that doesn't make sense. But we need to be obedient in doing what we don't understand. The word tells us, but the Lord said to Joshua, I have given you Jericho, its king, and all its strong warriors. You and your fighting men should march around the town once a day for 6 days. 7 priests will walk ahead of the ark, each carrying a ram's horn. On the 7th day, you are to march around the town 7 times. When you hear the priests give one long blast on the ram's horns, have all the people shout as loud as they can. Then the walls of the town will collapse and the people can charge straight into the town. Think about that. Joshua was supposed to go capture a land or capture a territory, and God told him to walk around the town 7 times and to blow a trumpet. Does that make any logical sense? If God tells us to do something today, or if we're in battle and he gives us that command, how confident are we to ultimately carry it out? And so there's things that God is prompting you to do and placing in your spirit that you don't understand the how it's going to happen, but he's just prompting you that you need to do it. And it's not up to us to figure out the how, but when he reveals the how, we just got to go and do it, because sometimes, oftentimes, it's not going to make sense. But when we do it, and in this story, the walls came crashing down because of Joshua's obedience to do what he didn't understand, because he trusted God. So my challenge to you is, what's holding you back from truly trusting God? Is it fear? Is it past failures? Is it that you don't feel adequate enough? You don't feel worthy enough? Whatever it is, stop letting it rob you from your best and the best that God has in store for you. Because God has great things in store for you and I. And he wants to give you and I a great future. And your future will be even better than your current and your past. In Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And then it goes on to say in Job 8:7, "Though your beginning was small, yet your latter will end in abundance." So our future, where we're going as we continue to move forward and stop looking backwards in terms of the rearview mirror and all the things that didn't happen to us and all the things that we didn't do and the things that did happen to us, let it go. Move forward, because what he has in store moving forward is greater than everything in the present and everything that's behind you. So this year, this is the year that we're going to overcome our fears. Our faith is bigger than our fears, and it's bigger than anything that has been holding us back. We're no longer thinking small, settling for less, because we know that God has greatness in store for us. And so when we talk about trusting God, in order to fully trust God, you have to trust in yourself, because God requires us to move and to go and to act. So the other half of the question is not just what can God do, but it's also what do we believe about ourselves based upon the power that he's given you and I. Ephesians 3:20 tells us God can do exceedingly and abundantly more than we can think and ask, according to the power that works in us. Not according to the power that works in God, but according to the power that works in us. He's already got the power. He's waiting on us to start declaring his promises and start walking in our power. He's waiting on us to have enough trust in him to start moving. And so trusting in God is not passive, it's active. It's taking the small steps of faith and doing the small things in obedience, even when we don't understand. And as we do so, he reveals himself and he reveals more plans so that we know what the next step is that he wants us to do. And then when that happens, we begin to see him orchestrating more things in our favor. Doors start opening and things start happening. But it all starts with the things that he's already given and placed in our hands and using the power that's within us. So we demonstrate our trust in him by our ability to act on the things that he tells us, even when they don't make sense and before we see the final results. We demonstrate our true trust by believing in the power that operates within us that he gives to you and I. God has a dream for each of us. God has deliverance. He has breakthrough. He has provision. He has plans to give us a hope and a future. He wants to use you and I to do great things. But we first have to truly trust him and then have enough trust in ourselves to actually get started. So if we want to change the world, start at home. Start with what's already in your hands and what he's already entrusted you with. Bless those things and go where he tells you to go. And God will take care of the rest. Trusting in God plus trusting in the power that he's placed within you equals true trust. And true trust leads to breakthrough. So our action items for today. Number 1, stop believing small and start truly trusting God. Number 2, start visualizing yourself the way that God sees you and start seeing yourself having and doing what God desires for you to have and for what he desires you to do. Number 3, Stop settling. Number 4, start believing and trusting in yourself. With God on your side and you walking in the power and the authority that he gives you, you can do all things. So let's go get it. And let's make this year our best year yet. Nothing holding us back because, again, with God, all things are possible. It's just up to believe that. Believe in him, but also believe in ourselves enough to act and to move and to persist and to endure. Because just because he says go doesn't mean that initially everything's going to fall into place. If we truly trust him, when we hit that roadblock, that barrier, that obstacle, then we'll keep going because we trust that he's good and he has the best in store for us. So if you've enjoyed this video today, all I ask is 2 things. 1, go ahead and press subscribe, and 2, share this video with someone else.